What's going on with you boys and girls? You know who it is. It's your boy John Mike from down here at Dynamic Music, and I'm doing what I always do, well, at least here lately, working on this stuff, main stage stuff, and talking about it. We was in a conversation on Facebook the other day with a few gentlemen and a few producers and gospel musicians, and we were talking about CPU usage inside of MainStage 3. And the other um, gospel musician kind of stated, the guy who started the conversation stated that he likes to use Logic because it's better on the CPU, meaning that when he was using MainStage, he was finding out that his CPU was maxing out a whole lot. He was just wearing his CPU out basically by trying to use this program. And so I never really paid attention to it. I knew CPU usage was kind of important, but I never really paid much attention to it until this point. And so after this conversation, I started really digging in and paying attention to my CPU meter. And I was playing a song at rehearsal on Saturday and realized that I was wearing my CPU out, and I only had like two layers running, like a pad and a piano, And I was like, man, the CPU is just maxed out. What's going on? And so I started researching and digging into it, and found out that it's very simple to really maximize your CPU because a lot of musicians like to run other softwares. In concordance with MainStage. There are some gospel musicians that like to run Ableton Live. They like to use MainStage for their sounds and use Ableton to run their live tracks, the click tracks, and all those different things like that. And some might use Logic or whatever other DAW that they may use to run their tracks, but using MainStage for their sounds. So CPU is something that you really need to have that as a resource. You don't want to be maxing it out while you're playing. So I've looked and started digging into it and found out that MainStage handles the CPU a little bit different than Logic. I was approaching it from a Logic standpoint. I was like, okay, I need all these sounds, so I'm gonna come over here to my channel strip and I'm just gonna add every VST, every soft synth that I want to use in a session, and then I'll set up my template to basically mute them when I'm playing. But what happens is inside main stage, when you mute something, it doesn't actually mute it. It's like what we call a soft mute. It all it does is cut off the sound, but the layer or the channel is actually still being read by the CPU. Whereas in Logic, or like for instance in Logic, when you mute something, it actually cuts that channel off from the CPU. It does not get read by the CPU, but it does inside of main stage. It reads the CPU, reads the CPU. Prime example here. I have about one, two, three, four, about maybe 6 or 7 instances of Contact 5 running with all of my different sounds that I like to use. I also have Machine running for, my drum tracks and stuff. And as you can see, I'm not playing anything. I'm not playing anything at all. And my CPU here just spiked for some reason, but it's idling here at 32, 34%. There's a spike for whatever reason. It may have to do with my video recording software, but it's spiking, and I'm not doing anything. I'm not playing anything, but my CPU is taking a beat down, just doing that. But if I start playing, watch what happens. Instantly, it's as you can see, it hit 100 a couple times, and I wasn't really even doing anything spectacular. I was just playing. And it's still jumping 50, 30, and it's still settling around that. But it has to do with the fact that I have all of these layers running, and all of these channels open with these different, my different sounds and different layers running, and it's eating into the CPU. So how do we fix that? It's real simple. Instead of setting up a one little layer, one sound patch over here in your patch list with all of your sounds, and then creating all these channels and laying everything on top of each other and doing all of the soft muting, create a patch, a different patch. Because when I go to another patch here on this side, uh, the CPU immediately changes because it stops reading everything that's on this level. So let's watch what happens when I click. Watch the CPU right here, the CPU meter. When I click on here where it says instrument one, watch what happens. As you can see, it's going down. But watch where it's going to kind of settle at. It should go down some more. There we go. Now it's down to about 14, 15%. Now, like I said, I have my video recording software uh, open. So that's using a little bit of resources. When in my actual test, this actually went down to about 7 or 8% idle. That's where you should be at. Now, you can't see it over here and reflected in this area because I haven't set up this area, but over here I have um about 3 layers running, and I have some playback tracks and everything running. But I have 3 layers active. So if I start playing, watch the CPU as well, where it's sitting at. Like I said, with those spikes, I think have to do with my recording software. Uh, Watch the CPU here as I start playing. So as you can see, it's still set around 30, 20, 30%. That still gives me a whole lot of headroom of CPU to run my Ableton tracks if I want to use that, or Logic, or whatever other software I'm using in concordance with this. I'm actually running Logic in the background to record the audio for this particular video. So even with Logic running, video recording software running, and a couple of other little small programs, I'm still only using 16% of my CPU in idle. So that is the way that you can kind of maximize your CPU. Instead of just going in and just throwing layers on top of each other, like I done. I just have to be honest. Some of you might not be doing that, but I've done it. Throwing layers on top of each other and stacking layers and muting and doing all of those. Create a different patch for the particular song. Say if this song is Lord You're Mighty, then you want to have just 2 or 3 layers that you're going to use for that particular song. And then set up a button on your controller to just press and go down to the next patch or go down to the next song. And you'll have everything on this set and every layer on this patch that you would need for that particular song. And that is how you maximize your PC usage. So appreciate you guys sitting here and listening to this video. Hope I helped you out. Hope I said something that would kind of help you utilize this program a whole lot better. Hit me up on Twitter. I'm John Mike. Hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, all of those good places. You can pretty much find me if you type in John Mike or Dynamics Music. Holla at your boy, and we'll see you on the next one.